Everyone, welcome back to another episode of the 3rd and 20 Dynasty Podcast. I'm JT, joined by Jake and Frank. We might have Lounis showing up. We're not quite sure yet, but with that, let's get just right into it. We do have the new league year starting. I think legal tampering is the words that's the phase that we're currently in. And we have a trade right off the bat we've been talking about for the past couple of weeks. Going against my philosophy, the Bears did end up trading their first round pick to the Carolina Panthers for pick number 9 in this draft, pick number 1 in this draft, a first in 2024, a second in 2025, and none other than DJ Moore, a wide receiver also involved in this trade.
Go Terps, go, sir.
Or anyway, that big trade. Didn't really see it coming. I mean, it made sense, though, heading into free agency. If the team was going to trade the first round, their first overall pick, the Bears might as well have done it then. That way they could address their free agency and whatnot prior. But yeah, I guess we'll start with the Bears because they're the ones that traded the first round pick. They're sticking with Justin Fields. How much more confident are we in Justin Fields now that he gets DJ Moore as number 1 wide receiver? The Bears could build around him with offensive line through the draft. Stocks up on Justin Fields? Stock neutral?
Stock neutral, I'd say.
I think my stock is up because I'm starting to like Justin Fields more at his price. I'm curious to see where he's going in startups. He might still be a little bit too expensive for me, but nonetheless, I was saying this in our group chat when this move happened. I really think that Eberflus is just going to try and do what the Panthers were doing in like 2019 or 2020, where they had DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel, Robbie Anderson. I feel like he could do a very similar thing with the skill set that Claypool, DJ Moore, who you had in that offense, and Darnell Mooney kind of give you. So I do think that Justin Fields, his passing floor has a decent chance of going up. And especially because as of right now, they haven't really invested anything heavy in a running back. That may change, but that's the only real concern is like, okay, are they going to be this run heavy offense again? Or are we going to see, okay, now we trust Justin Fields. We go out, we're spending and getting weapons. Now we're going to throw the ball at a league average rate, which could give Justin Fields a 3,500 passing yard season. Combine that with what he just did running the ball, and now you have a locked and loaded high-end QB1, right? Like, and consistent high-end QB1, not, oh, I need my 100 rushing yards and a touchdown, or else this could be a really low floor week.
Anything you want to add, Jake?
I mean, listen, if they're going to try to replicate that old Panthers offense, that would be, I think, the best case scenario. That offense had, obviously, Christian McCaffrey and 3 guys that finished as top 24 wide receivers. If they could do that, this Bears offense is going to look really, really good. But to me, this is just more of a neutral move to me in terms of Justin Fields stock. I still think he's going to require that large rushing floor to be a consistent QB1. I just don't love it. I understand they're doing everything they can to, bolster those passing weapons and raise his passing ability, or not his passing ability, but his passing floor, I'll call it. But still, I'm going to have to see it before I believe it. I think a lot of these receivers are I love the DJ Moore, the talent. I just don't think he's ever played with a quarterback that has really let him live up to that talent. He played with an injured Cam Newton, a shit show of a carousel behind that at Carolina, and now he moves to Justin Fields, who's not known for his passing. I don't know. I think it's kind of stocks down on DJ Moore and stock neutral on Justin Fields.
Can't really be a stock down on DJ Moore considering the situation he came from.
Well, I mean, listen, he's coming off his worst season as a pro, right? So the 3 years before that, he broke 1,100 yards, and his touchdowns were always his problem. And that's, if this Bears offense is good, those touchdown numbers hopefully go up, and that's what you're hoping for from DJ Moore here. But I'm going to have to see it before I believe it.
All right, and then
I think the one thing I would say with DJ Moore is that the consensus is that, okay, DJ Moore is good. This is probably, for better or worse, stock neutral. And I'd agree with that. The one thing I will say is that I feel like we could see this Bears offense get off to a hot start at the first couple games of the season. And that is a period that I might look to sell DJ Moore, because I think at that point you might be able to get a really handsome offer as he's transitioning to a stage where people, I think this is the last year that you're going to see chonk offers for DJ Moore. I think now after that, he's going to enter this annoying Amari Cooper territory where you just can't get that return that you really want for your wide receiver one, your low end wide receiver one.
Yep. I mean, right now he's 25. Next year you're looking at 26, and he's going to be firmly in that Deontay Johnson weird spot that Deontay's in right now. So.
Yeah, all right. What do you think about Claypool and Mooney? Do they lose from this? Is it fine because of like what Frank was saying with the Eberflus going with the Panther strategy of old?
I like this for Mooney more than other people would. I think the initial reaction is that Mooney is cooked. I think this just more so locks Mooney into being a vertical threat receiver, which I don't mind simply because if you were expecting Mooney to be this alpha wide receiver one, well, I think you had an unrealistic expectation of Mooney. All I need for Mooney is to be a high-end wide receiver two, locked into a role where if they're playing one-on-one coverage, he can win vertically. He makes his 1 or 2 plays a game. He's good on the sideline. He's able to win these 50-50 balls, and he's not horrible in the other, in other routes other than threatening defenses vertically. Yeah, he's not going to see 160 targets, but give me just 130 and let's convert a little bit more consistently. Then I can get the Mooney seasons that I had when he was healthy, and considering that the DJ Moore is probably driving his price down, I'm starting to really think about investing in Mooney. I just don't know about the injury. That's the only real concern that I have.
Yeah, all right. I guess that's fair enough. I'm probably more on what you're saying when people feel like I think they still might not be finished with wide receivers, which might push Mooney down even further. I mean, now they have a bunch of draft capital that they can mess around with. It sounds like they have.
Oh, you think they're going to take?
They're going.
You think they're going to take one?
No, not in the draft. I think they trade. I think you've got, for example, they still have the most cap space. They've got a disgruntled Devontae Adams out in Las Vegas. They've got DeAndre Hopkins out in Arizona. Like there are other solutions to the wide receiver position that they could go out and get. So I don't know if I'd say the Chicago Bears are done yet.
I agree with what you're saying. I think they should then fucking trade for a defense.
Trade for a defense?
They need pieces on that. I mean, they just signed a couple linebackers, right? And
yeah.
I imagine
they need some defensive line. They need some big fellas.
Bro, their defense was horrible last year. Like, especially getting towards the end of the season. And they have some good players. It's not like all of their players are bad, but that was a bad defense.
See, I just don't understand trading Roquan because he wants $20 million and then signing Edmonds to an $18 million deal. That doesn't make any sense to me.
So the theory behind that I was seeing on Twitter is that for the price that they would have paid Roquan, they got him and another linebacker who's pretty decent. So now they have 2 linebackers for the price of 1.
That's just because they got a steal on what's his name, TJ Edwards, right?
What's going on, chat? Peter the R, Terrace Marshall season. We can move on to the Panthers because I swear to fucking God, if I see another Terrace Marshall season, I'm going to off myself.
Oh yeah, all right. I'll start planning your obituary because Terrace Marshall, just kidding, but like, I like it for Terrace Marshall. He was coming on at the end of the season. He's just never going to have enough like routes and consistency to actually be worth anything more than a roster clogger, which is sad. I mean, like maybe there's a huge resurgence, but if you could get like a 2nd round pick for Terrace Marshall, I'm offing him easily.
I'd do it for a 3rd.
Yeah, probably as well.
I'd probably do it for a 4th.
He's not going to be the lead receiver on this offense.
No, I mean you have to imagine that Carolina takes one in the 3rd or 4th round, right?
A receiver? I mean, I think that they signed at least like one, if not multiple, in free agency.
But who are they signing right now? Jakobi Meyers is gone. Who's the next best Lazard's off the board. Who's the next?
but I agree with the Panthers. I'm not signing a wide receiver on day one of free agency. I think that's a dumb move if they did that. Tying up a bunch of guaranteed money in an average at best receiver. That's like give me like a collection. I just want to overhaul what they got. I just want at the beginning of the season just all different names through the draft and through signing like menial free agents.
The thing is, it's just like the free agents that are left aren't going to get a bunch of money.
No.
Like Juju's the only one that could maybe command anything, and even that, I don't think he's got that much of a bargaining chip on him. So, who are you overpaying for? DJ Chark? Like there aren't many left. I think that's why we're going to see probably big trades happen in the draft, similar to like what we were seeing last year and the year prior, where teams are going to try and move up to get their guy at wide receiver position, because I think as we've been going through this draft process, a lot of people are saying there might be less really good wide receivers than we thought there were. So if a team's looking for that staple kind of wide receiver, like you're probably going to need to take them in the first round or very early second round.
Dad 30, what's going on, dude? I need some Gesicki news. Got him for free in a trade.
There's no.
It's pretty nice.
I mean, I like that, but there's no Gesicki news yet. He's still sitting out there in free agency.
I think one thing that's really wacky going on is that there's so many good tight ends in the draft.
The tight end prospects.
Because I saw people, like, I was just reading on Twitter the reactions to this next segment we're going to get into, the Giants picking up Darren Waller. I saw a lot of Giants fans kind of unhappy with that trade, which I was kind of surprised with. Getting an elite receiving option for, you just brought the gang back together. Now you might get like a top 5 tight end in the league. Like, I thought the Giants fans would be going crazy over this.
So, as the resident Giants fan, I'll take this one. I like the trade. I just think Waller is a very risky player. We've seen him be very injured and inconsistent over the past 2 years. If the Giants are getting that top 5 tight end Darren Waller, this is a steal. Pick 100 is, not nothing, but it's not a top 50 pick. It's not a top even 75 pick here. We're talking about a compensatory pick that the Chiefs got. It's one of the last picks in the 3rd round. This is the pick they got for Kadarius Toney. So if you're talking about the full trade in that, they basically gave up Toney for Waller and a 6th, which I think most people do 9 times out of 10. Also, the Waller contract is just very friendly. They can cut him after this year with pretty much no dead money, or they have him under control for another 3 years after this year. So it's a very friendly contract. And if they're getting the tight end that we've seen Darren Waller be before, this is going to be a fantastic move. The Giants needed a big time receiving threat, and Darren Waller definitely has that potential to. Obviously, he's older now and tight end and not a big wide out that you see on the outside and all that. But I think the Giants are going to address that in the draft, and I think they know that. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see them take Quentin Johnson here at pick 25, and now that offense looks insane with Quentin Johnson on the outside, Sterling Shepard opposite him, Darren Waller over the middle, and then Saquon out of the backfield. I think this is potentially a very dangerous offense, and I think it was a great move for the Giants here.
I don't think you're getting Quentin Johnson at 25.
From a dynasty perspective, though,
okay, whatever.
What do you think of Waller? Because Waller, beforehand, I was selling him actively, the shares I had of Waller, which I had more than I expected. I still have some, and I'm definitely more optimistic him being in a Dable system. That I just think that Dable's a creative coach, and I think he can turn water into wine. So why can't he turn Waller into good Waller, right? Bad Waller into good Waller.
Absolutely. I mean, from a dynasty perspective, I think this gives Darren Waller that change of scenery that he really needed. And I think it's going to give him a little bit of a boost. I mean, value-wise, I would expect his trade cut value to at least go up a few spots. And I think it's reasonable because, like you said, Daboll's a very good offensive coach. They brought the band back together and they needed weapons, and they went out and got one. So I don't see why his value wouldn't go up here.
So would you ship off like a 207 for him, 206 for him?
I would.
Yeah, I probably would. Because that's probably the pick that you're going to take a Michael Mayer at anyway, right? So if you're going to say, okay, I'm going to take Mayer, why not just take a guy that you know can do it and got to change the scenery?
He's the only reasonable cheap tight end that has a chance of putting in a top 3 season. Like you're not going to get any other tight end for a mid-second that's going to give you that production. So if you're a contending team, like I definitely do that. I ship off 206, 207 right away.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't want to light my pick on fire. And that's what, because I agree, there is a lot of upside. And I have Waller on a team. I'm a heavy contender, and I'm going to roll into the season with him. And I'm pretty happy about this move. Like, I'm definitely more confident. So, like, that's a league I have Waller, Fant, Brevin Jordan. And it's funny because I hated Brevin Jordan. I don't even know how I ended up with him. And then, like, another just kind of slightly above complete crap, right? And that's a league like, okay, with Waller last year, all of a sudden that's a league where I need a tight end really badly. Now with this move, I'm starting to question, okay, do I actually need to go out and spend capital targeting a tight end, or can I just play the board and let one fall to me if it happens? Now I'm starting to think I should just keep doing that. And that's all because of this move.
Heard on a pod someone would sell Watson for the 204 this season. Thoughts? I'm going to assume Christian Watson.
Yeah, me and Jake were talking about this earlier, that he got offered 201 for Christian Watson. And I don't know. I'm thinking about declining that simply because I think that Watson is just worth a smidge higher than 201. I don't know. It's close because I really like 201 this season. 204, I'm definitely not doing Watson for.
I'd move Watson for any first that I could get. But I'm not gonna move him for 204.
201 is just one of those like really close ones for me. I told the guy that offered me it, I'd do it for Zay Flowers, but that's more of a draft day move. But and also because I love Zay Flowers, so
I'd rather move Christian Watson for 2024 first, though. Then
I don't think that is on the table for this guy.
Gotcha.
But like JT said, right? Let's just say the price is 201. I would definitely be willing to shell out more than nominal value to get a future first. I'm willing.
Would you do Christian Watson and 206 for a 24 first?
I do it for a 24 first and a third. Give me 206 and Watson for the first. That's just give me 201 at that point.
Yeah.
All
right. Anything else we want to add on Darren Waller?
Any effect on
Raiders?
What do you think it does to any of the receivers currently there, or you expect to be there? Like if they go out and bring in one of these top receivers in the draft, do you think it helps Waller, hurts Waller? If they don't do anything at wide receiver except, sticking with Isaiah Hodgins, Sterling Shepard, maybe bring back Darius Slayton and run it back, what are we thinking on the other Giants wide receivers?
I think it's almost impossible to predict because there's so many question marks about the offense. Because you're going to bring in a rookie, guys never played. Bring in Waller, guys barely played. And even when he has played recently, it's not like he was amazing. Isaiah Hodgins just started to play. So Sterling Shepard, he's good if he's ever healthy. So, listen, on paper, I like it. I think they got something good going on. I'm not going to go out here and start overpaying to get my chips into this team, though. I don't think for anyone right now. I'm not overpaying for Waller.
What would you pay for Waller, straight up? We just said like 206, 207.
Like I said, I do my mid-second if that gets done now. That was getting done beforehand. I'm not sure it. And I'm not sure I would do 206. I'm looking to do more like a 207 or a 208. But listen, I respect if that doesn't get done. So
The move makes no sense. Waller's an old player on a young team that has no chance of contending. I mean, they won a playoff game last year. I know people are going to say they're the most fraudulent playoff team of all time, but like they did go out into Minnesota and win a playoff game. I don't know. I think it's a good move.
I think
for
they've just gotten better since.
Yeah, that's the argument, is that they're just trying to add stud players to make the run with the quarterback that they've now signed. I feel like it makes sense, right? And to the people saying that, they should have gone out and got D-Hop, well, you can't afford D-Hop. D-Hop's got 3 times the cap hit next year, and then you got to pay $12 million if he sucks to cut him. So I don't love it. I don't hate it. I think it's a fine move. It makes sense for the Giants. All right, let's get into the quarterbacks.
All right,
juicy.
We got a lot here.
Some juicy ones.
So this one's not announced, but it's essentially announced just based on everything else that's happening. It's Aaron Rodgers is a New York Jet. I mean, the Jets we'll talk about in a second, but the Jets also signed Alan Lazard. They're reportedly in on Randall Cobb and Mercedes Lewis. Like the Jets are they're preparing for Aaron Rodgers, right? So
the Mercedes Lewis one got me real bad. I just was like, really? You want like a 50-year-old tight end that like catches about 5 balls a season at this point? All right.
Yeah, I understand that, but there's a giant gap between Minnesota and Philly/San Francisco. Talking about the Giants, Philly
just lost their entire defense.
The problem
named Bradbury.
The problem is the Giants don't have a franchise quarterback, and he's just Daniel Jones is not winning the Super Bowl, so they're kind of stuck in limbo regardless at this point. That's a whole different discussion. But anyway, so Aaron Rodgers going to be a Jet, most likely. I'm just going to call it news, and then if we're wrong, we're wrong. We'll retract it next week, but I think we're right. What does that mean for one, Garrett Wilson, but more importantly, I think Elijah Moore and Corey Davis? I think we probably have different.
Corey Davis is going to be a cap casualty.
Yeah, so I think Corey Davis, he'll be one of the top 4 or 5 free agents.
Is he?
Yeah, he's scheduled to make $10 million this year. He's casualty.
Oh, dude, I don't know. If I'm them, I want to keep Corey Davis. I think Corey Davis is good. It sucks that he had the injuries last year. When he was playing, like when he was tearing up Pittsburgh, we couldn't cover him.
That's the problem with Corey Davis, though, is you bring in Alan Lazard for a similar amount of money. It kind of signifies like, hey, we're looking to replace you with this guy, essentially, unless they trade Elijah Moore. That's the other thing that we have to consider.
That's what I would do. I'd rather trade Elijah Moore because, to be honest, like for the going rate of Elijah Moore, I just think it's too expensive given the risk of I don't really think the difference between him and Claypool is that large right now in terms of where he could end up, just being one of those guys that's on a team like a Kadarius Toney. He's on the team, he makes his handful of plays, but is he giving me these seasons that warrants this price tag? Dude, he's going for more than 206. He's going for more than that. I don't know exactly what the price is in your league, but I've seen him go for more than that. It's a little bit all over the place.
Yeah, but
that's a high price.
So I'm talking about with the Jets, though. What do the Jets do about him? I mean, we just did on here. Lounis traded for Elijah Moore from me, and it's a 14-team league, so I think it was 204. So that would be essentially a 206 in a 12-team league. But with the Jets, what does Elijah Moore get them? They trade him to the Browns, for example, or something. What was that team giving them?
I don't think the Jets want to move any of their players. I don't think they want to.
You think they're gonna keep 4? You think they're gonna keep Garrett Wilson, Alan Lazard, Elijah Moore, and Corey Davis?
Yes.
And also probably bring in Randall Cobb?
Yes.
No way.
And you want to know why? They're trying to win the fucking Super Bowl. You see that division? They're gonna need as many damn receivers as they can get.
That's a fair point. Even with Aaron Rodgers, I still think they're the 3rd team.
Listen, dude,
maybe the 2nd team.
Trade for Rodgers, now is not the time to be reasonable and be like, oh well.
Yeah, that's true.
My glasses. Well, next year we need $14 million in cap, and no, if we're trading for fucking Rodgers, it's now or never. It's all pedal to the fucking metal. We are stacking.
That is a good point. Chat asking, has Rodgers ever supported 2 solid fantasy assets? He usually hyper focuses on his number 1 option.
No.
First off, I think he has. Second off, though, when your number one option is Devontae Adams, like, why aren't you going to hyper focus?
Yeah,
on
but
number one
before
option?
that, he had like Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb both be top 24 receivers like at the same time, and like he's had, Donald Driver and Jordy Nelson do that before that, Greg Jennings and all these guys. Like he's had wide receivers. It's only recently that he's had these no wide receivers.
Well, it's because you hyper focus on Devontae Adams, who's arguably the top receiver in the league. So makes sense to hyper focus on him.
Yeah, that, and I think that with the Jets, we're getting into an offense that Rodgers is now more comfortable in with Nathaniel Hackett. Right? They have. I think part of the problem in Green Bay is that he wasn't really able to trust any of the other young receivers or different receivers they would bring in, right? So like Alan Lazard, when Devontae Adams was going crazy, was kind of just a young receiver playing inconsistent last year. Like all the receivers, young, inconsistent. But yeah, I just think that we're going to see a more comfortable Aaron Rodgers. The Jets are setting him up to succeed.
They're also just bringing in the guys that he wants. So,
which I think that the public is overblowing that. Like I think that makes complete sense. If you're just like, dude, don't have fucking Berrios, give me Randall Cobb. I don't want a damn Berrios as my fifth receiver. Just give me Cobb. Give me Cobb and I'll go there. That's all it takes. Boom, done. Sign for a 1 year, $2.5 million contract. Easy money.
I don't mind that, but he gave a list of like 5 guys that he wants. And like some of them aren't going to come cheap. Like Lazard didn't come cheap. Lazard got $11 million a year. Like he wants Odell Beckham. Odell Beckham's not going to come cheap. Like there's a lot of.
I don't know why they paid Lazard. I think that was the bait.
Yeah, I agree. I'm like, sure, if you want to give Lazard $6 million a year, fine. To give him $11 million a year just so you get your boy Aaron Rodgers seems a little over the top to me. I don't like what he's doing. I just think he's being a diva quarterback that is being just that exactly that. He's being a diva. And I don't want that. And he's going to be a little baby once he gets booed by the Jet fans for the first time. He's going to be a little baby and cry about it. And we all know about it's going to happen. And he's not going to be a fit in New York. I'm telling you now.
So what are we paying for? What do you think Rodgers is worth right now in Dynasty?
He's going to go for probably a mid to late second just because he's Aaron Rodgers and has the potential to have an MVP season. But he's 38, so mid to late second.
I just think that price is too low for potentially Rodgers giving you a low-end QB1 season. I think that there's a very realistic chance he finishes over guys like Russell Wilson.
Sure.
I think that, like any of the rookies, obviously Rodgers has a really good chance of finishing over. You're a contending team. If he is at that mid-late second, I think it's a good move to just back your way into him. If you can just do it on the cost-effective side.
Yeah, the other issue is it's like, will the Rodgers owner really sell for that? But I mean, that's what I think the cost should be. Put it that way.
I think a handful of people are fed up with Rodgers right now and would be willing to move.
Well, chat's saying Rodgers had a lower passer rating than Tannehill this season. I don't think this will work out the way the Jets think. Lamar is the far better option. Well, we're about to talk to about Lamar, but I agree. I mean, if you could get Lamar Jackson and think the Ravens are actually going to move on from him, I would definitely just go get Lamar Jackson. I just don't know how realistic that's going to be. But yeah, why don't we move on and talk about Lamar Jackson? Because we're already pretty deep into the episode and we've only got through a couple topics. Lamar Jackson, there hasn't really been any movement on him. We talked last week how
he's going to be a Raven.
Moving out.
That's it.
You think so?
Yeah.
I think there's a realistic, I mean, just based on like what we were seeing, Schefter tweet out something today about like how much, or someone put out a story today about Schefter saying that Lamar was given like $200 million guaranteed at the start of the season and Lamar turned it down and Lamar said that's not true. So it's starting to look like it's blending into the media, which it means it's probably going to get uglier before it gets better. I think. But
at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how bad it gets because what matters is what Lamar will get from another team. And I don't think anyone will give Lamar a contract that the Ravens don't say we're matching.
If you make him the highest paid quarterback, if you give him the Deshaun Watson contract, do you think the Ravens accept that? Do you think they say, "Hey, we're just going to"?
I think they did this. I think they gave him the non-exclusive tag to say, "Go ahead, try to find a better offer than what we're giving you. Go ahead, try," and kind of prove their point.
But if it does happen and he does get that contract, they stick with it. They say, "Hey, we're paying."
I think they'll say, "Okay, you're our franchise quarterback." And listen, the only way I think they don't do it is if it's one of these teams that's going to give you a top 10 pick, maybe even has to be higher.
Well, all right. One of those teams just cut their quarterback and traded a cornerback away in the Indianapolis Colts.
This is the interesting one because if the Colts sign him to a deal and are like, "Sure, we'll give you pick 4 and our pick next year for Lamar," like that's a little interesting because then they could draft, potentially the likes of a, Anthony Richardson or
Will Levis.
Or Will Levis or whoever you want there at 4. Like that's a little interesting because those are high picks that in 2 years that you expect quarterbacks to go high, right? You got Caleb Williams next year and you got the 4 this year. So
but I mean, is a Colts team with Lamar Jackson finishing in last place? Like,
no, but
I just think that the draft pick issue, the fact that you have to give up your picks is the problem with this non-exclusive tag and why people aren't much more interested in getting Lamar Jackson. I feel like a lot of these teams that like the Colts, right? If it was just 2 firsts, they could easily, okay, let me trade back from 4, pick up value, and then I'll give my 2 firsts, sign him to the super deal. But bada bing, bada boom, we got our franchise quarterback, right? The only teams that can really afford to do this are like, and a lot of these
Giants.
Guys,
it's because the Giants were a perfect fit, but now they're not. Obviously,
the Steelers, I think, are strapped up against the cap. They can't do it now that they signed Patrick Pearce. I'm not even sure they could have done it before. The Patriots maybe, the Lions probably could, but they have Goff, who they considering
and the Lions
fact that
have
they have to
pick.
give 2 firsts. Like they might just rather draft the guy. They go another way. There might just be a better way to try and get your franchise guy. So I just think that that's the crux of the issue. If this was more so like Lamar's on the trade block, then we would see a shit ton of these teams all interested in him because they could actually make it work in terms that they want. So yeah, I agree. I think the writing's on the wall. Lamar's a Raven next year. There's nothing he can really do about it.
Well, the one thing he could do is just say, "Fuck you, I'm playing on the tag," right? And then this all happens again next year.
Right. But yeah, I think he's playing for the Ravens another season. He's not going to.
He also won't do that because he just won't play on the tag. He'll sit, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope he doesn't sit. That's going to really piss me off.
Having Lamar, that would suck.
Back-to-back championship runs, he decided to sit. I thought maybe I could get one.
We do have a starting quarterback switching. I guess kind of starting quarterback switching teams. Yeah, we have Jimmy G signing with the Raiders. He's joining up with McDaniels, where he was a coordinator when he was on the Patriots. So I just feel like it's a lateral move from Derek Carr.
I didn't understand it.
Yeah,
I didn't understand this. I mean, I guess Carr made slightly more money, but sure.
Unless they're entering the Caleb Williams sweepstakes, or whoever they want to be their top quarterback, I don't really get the whole signing move on from Derek Carr, sign Jimmy G, trade away Darren Waller, sign Jakobi Meyers. You're just you're trying to make the Patriots team in Las Vegas, but it's not a good version of the Patriots team. This is not Tom Brady and Randy Moss that you're getting. You're getting Jimmy G and Jakobi Meyers. They're just strictly okay.
I think the thing that's interesting to me about this team is that this might be a team that throws the ball way more than people expect.
Well, I expect them to throw a decent amount.
Why?
That is what's intriguing.
Why?
Do you forget that they still have Devontae Adams?
I think that this team is setting themselves up to just throw the ball a lot. And I think this is
And why wouldn't they just keep Darren Waller?
Because it makes complete sense. You can trade him for pick 100 in the draft, and he's not in the long-term plans. The guy's barely played for you the past 2 years. Like it makes total sense. And then you just replace him with Meyers, a guy that you think you can get a guaranteed 2-3 years of production out of. It makes complete sense what the Raiders did.
It is true. Jimmy G is not bad enough to get you Caleb Williams. When you compare the Raiders team to a lot of other teams.
I feel like I would have rather, if I was going to go for a team that's throwing the ball out, I honestly might have rather just Jacoby Brissett because he was slinging the fucking pill last year. But Jimmy G's value is not like insane.
His contract wasn't that bad. I thought it was going to be a lot higher. His contract was pretty cheap for what he is.
So, like, yeah, do I think this is a great move for the Raiders as a franchise? No, but in fantasy, like, I think that there is some value here, potentially with a guy like Renfrow, potentially investing in someone like a Meyers, because I think both of those players went down because of this news. Jimmy G, I think, is another potential veteran investment if you're a team that could use a QB3 on the cheaper end. I just think that this is a team that, and I like McDaniels. I think McDaniels is a decent coach. I don't know if he can get the whole, like, building an NFL team thing correct, but I think he's creative.
It should be the problem is you're competing in that AFC West where all the teams are stacked. The thing I'm just like
Broncos, but
even there,
or Jordan Love. If this is Dynasty, just give me Jordan Love. He's my QB3 in 3rd and 20. Yeah, I think he's a really solid QB3 right now.
When I filter by pass attempts, though, the Raiders were top half of they were almost a top 10 team last year.
Yeah, it's just because they were playing from behind 90% of the time.
Yeah, but I mean, the top teams were like the Chargers, the Chiefs. They're the top passing teams. The Bengals are up there. They're not playing from behind.
No, they have elite quarterbacks. Yeah, you have an elite
quarterback. You have the personnel now to pass.
I don't think the difference between Derek Carr and Jimmy G is that crazy.
No,
we've just kind of seen the other problem too is that we've just seen Jimmy G only in a Shanahan offense where Shanahan is willing and has tried to build his teams around. If you can't stop the running game, we don't give a shit. We will run it every play until you stop it. Like,
it's a good strat.
It makes sense why they didn't air the ball out a ton.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so it sounds like you're buying into this Raiders offense, though, Frank.
I think that there's value. I think there's value. I see people being all grumpy about it. I feel like I can get in for cheap, and I'm going to.
Who are you getting? I mean, what? Who?
Renfrow. I think Renfrow's a good.
Sure, Renfrow. You can get Renfrow. I don't think you're going to get Jakobi Meyers cheap, and I don't think you'll get Josh Jacobs cheap, and you definitely won't get Devontae Adams cheap.
Do you think Jakobi Meyers isn't going to be like? He can't be much more than just a random second, right?
I think you get a random second done in almost every single league. I don't even.
I think it'll have to be. I think it'll have to be 207 plus.
That's
a random second.
I tried to trade Myers for a second. I couldn't trade him for a second in the league. I mean, I wish someone would offer me a 207 plus. I just think that.
Wish that. Do you still wish someone or would you rather just have him now?
Well, I'm in a hard rebuilding league in that league, so yeah, I am still wishing that.
All right, pretend situation aside, would you rather 207 or?
Yeah, 100%. I'd rather 207. Even close. That's the thing. I think that to me, this is how I see Jakobi Meyers. He was worth like a 210, 211, and that was before free agency, right? Okay, maybe people were paying 207s because they're like, he's Christian Kirk. He's getting the bag. And it's like, I think that's fucking bonkers that people thought that, right? Like, Christian Kirk was better than Jakobi Meyers in literally every metric, every single one.
Yeah.
Better draft capital, more yards. The only thing he didn't have was more targets, right? And I can make an argument that you didn't want more targets with less yards, right? That's not exactly like something amazing. So, if you were paying 207 plus, that was fucking stupid. But now it's like, okay, I can maybe trade like a 212, a 301. As a contending team, that's something I'm interested in doing. I think that he could give me another wide receiver 28 season, and that might be worth it.
See, I would do it for that price. I just don't think you'll find that price.
Well, I think that's the interesting thing because I have him in that rebuild league. If someone offered me 212, I'd probably accept it.
And if I was looking for some depth wide receivers as a contender, I would absolutely do that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
all right.
Now we just have some quick hitters.
Yeah,
quick
Sam
hitters.
Darnold starts with the 49ers. Does this matter?
Jake thought so. I didn't.
I don't like the smell of this one. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. I know you're gonna say he's Sam Darnold. Don't forget who he is. Blah 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 blah. You forget that Purdy needs Tommy John surgery.
I guess it's not technically Tommy John, whatever he's getting, but
he has a torn UCL. That's what
he's getting. Some kind of different procedure, I believe. But regardless, he's gonna. Yeah, he's probably not gonna be ready for the season.
He has a torn
procedure. What the fuck is this guy doing?
I don't know. Either way,
he's gonna try not to do any surgery at all. But then I think it turned out he still needs it. But
yeah, whatever. He has a torn throat.
Tape it up.
Rub some dirt on it. So he has a torn elbow, and Lance is coming off a major surgery as well. So like, Darnold has a shot here to start week 1. Are we so sure that if he comes out in the best situation he's ever had, that he's not going to do, like, I think there's a chance he comes out here and does well. And I don't think that necessarily means he's going to keep his starting spot, but I do think it's a little fishy. Just because Shanahan seems to, before this, people were saying Purdy's the starter over a guy they traded 3 first-round picks for compared to Mr. Irrelevant. So, like, I'm not so sure what's going on here. He seems to be a guy that's just like, if you play well, you'll be on the field. And that makes sense. So if Darnold plays well, I'm not so sure he won't be on the field.
The thing about Brock Purdy that I don't understand is, like, he wasn't actually good. Like, Brock Purdy was not good.
No, he was just fine. By every
advanced metric, he was actually kind of bad. It was just that the 49ers were winning.
He had the team behind him, though. He had the team behind him.
That means
right. And Darnold's going to have this. You. And Darnold's going to do the same thing.
Whoever's named the starting quarterback, if they're helping the team win games, the team's going to be behind. It doesn't matter. So, but with that, I think they're going to just go turn back to Trey Lance, who was your electric, should be really good player. It sounds like he's going to be ready for the season. His rehab's going well, yada, yada. Brock Purdy's the one who sounds more in doubt. They're going to say, hey, look, we have this electric guy in Trey Lance, but he is kind of, he likes to take hits. Who knows if he's going to change his philosophy now, but he was a guy in the past who likes to take hits. We're going to need a backup anyway. Might as well just sign a guy for $7 million or whatever it was.
Listen, I told you guys that
he can play.
I told you, I do think Lance will be the opening day starter, but this was a name that, like, I didn't expect this one, just because I thought they would go with more of a experienced veteran guy that could fill in if needed kind of thing. That's what this team really needs, right? They needed that Jimmy G behind Trey Lance. That's what they had. And I think I thought that was more the route they were going to go instead of a guy that was, more of an upside play here in Darnold.
Kittle said it's Purdy's job to lose. The only problem is that we've seen Kittle say the same thing about Jimmy Garoppolo as the starting quarterback. And at the end of the day, it's really not his call.
Also, players and their evaluation of talent is not like Patrick Mahomes wanted Mecole Hardman. Patrick Mahomes wanted, this Sky Moore to come to the team. Patrick Mahomes wanted CEH. Like, their evaluation, Aaron Rodgers is out here getting Alan Lazard signed for $11 million and Randall Cobb joining the team. I'm not going to trust the NFL players' talent evaluation compared to the GM and the coach. It's not their job to talent evaluate.
I guess the problem I have with Darnold is that if the expectation is that, like, both of these guys might be hurt and he has a chance at starting week 1, I think there's 0% chance that he starts week 1. That's where we differ. So, like, from a dynasty perspective, that means that.
I mean, I think Lance ends up starting day 1, but like JT said, he's a guy that is going to take hits. He's going to have the QB runs and he's going to take hits. So, like, if he gets on the field at some point, I wouldn't be shocked if he wins some games. Because Darnold has the talent. We've seen him have good games and show flashes. He's just never been consistent. And I think this is the best coaching staff he's had, as well as the best surrounding cast he's ever had.
Right.
So I just think
he gets a chance potentially in a big game to show it all.
Correct. And I think it's just something that is a little fishy to me rather than going with a more veteran kind of guy. That's all I'm saying.
All right, so Jarret Stidham.
Now we can speed run these.
Yeah, I'm taking charge here. Jarret Stidham signs with the Broncos. Does anyone care?
Okay.
No.
Not me either. Jarret Stidham, I will sell him for anything anyone's willing to pay. Yeah. Andy Dalton signs with the Panthers. Do we care?
It's a little more interesting because he could be a bridge.
Yeah.
For whoever they pick at 1, but not going to matter.
It doesn't matter, but nice veteran, mentor kind of guy for whoever they pick.
Taylor Heinecke to the Falcons. Do we care?
This matters. I think he's going to be their starting quarterback.
I think he's better than Desmond Ridder too. I think he might be the starter. I don't know what they do in the draft. I don't know what they do in the if they try and get Lamar. I know they said that they were out, but who knows? But as of how the current team is set up, I think Taylor Heinecke is the starting quarterback for this team.
Do they draft a quarterback? What pick do they have?
Hendon Hooker. Watch out for Hendon Hooker in the second round.
Because
I don't mind Hendon Hooker, but
well, I'm more curious about Desmond Ridder because I think that Desmond Ridder, because I agree with you. I think there's a decent chance that Taylor Heinecke wins the job. But maybe not necessarily out of the gate. I think that it might be like a Desmond Ridder is so crap that Taylor Heinecke kind of just does his classic Taylor Heinecke dance, and then all of a sudden is starting for a team that's around 500 again, like on the outside looking into the playoffs.
Yep.
Like it's just like a tails all the time.
That's exactly what's going to happen, and you know it.
Well, I'm just curious as how to time, because I'm selling Desmond Ridder, and I advise everyone who has him to sell Desmond Ridder. I just want to time it because right now on Keep Trade Cut, I don't think in most leagues you get the price that he's probably at, which is like
you gotta wait for it's the camp hype, right? You gotta wait for the camp hype.
But is it the camp hype? Because if they go and they draft another quarterback, it's just going to kill his value.
It is, right? So it's weighing the risk of what are the chances of them actually drafting a quarterback, and also does them drafting Hendon Hooker in the second round, like, are people going to be like, oh, Desmond Ridder's out, Hendon Hooker's now the guy? Like,
yeah, well, they drafted Desmond Ridder in the third, right? So
but with the Taylor Heinecke signing, I mean, maybe there's a chance that they just don't go quarterback in the draft, and man, that would suck so much for London and pit stocks.
Yeah, this team has invested 2 top 10 picks, borderline 2 top 5 picks in pass catching options, and they don't have anyone to throw them the ball.
Yeah, but look at Arthur Smith's quarterbacks. He's willing to just be like, yeah, I want the guy who's like not good. Like, because I don't want to say that Ryan Tannehill's bad. Ryan Tannehill's like fine, but he's just not good. Like, I love
but
Ryan
you should
Tannehill,
get a good quarterback. If you have these elite pass catching options, you should go out and get a good quarterback to throw to these elite pass catching options. It would be that division is theirs for the taking if they could just figure out the quarterback situation. They just can't.
Yeah, but if time is a flat circle, they're going to end up with another mid quarterback, and everyone's going to be pissed off. This is the Falcons we're talking about, right?
This is next up. Colts cut Matt Ryan. Do the right thing, Atlanta. Bring him back. Bring him back.
Run it back. Run it back.
You guys were a quarter away from winning the Super Bowl. Just bring it back. You have all right, you don't have Julio Jones, but you have Drake London and Kyle Pitts. Tony Gonzalez wasn't there when you were winning that Super Bowl. Almost won that Super Bowl.
They're not going to get Lamar. They're not get.
No, I'm talking about Matt. I'm talking about. Oh
no, I know. Chat's saying they're not gonna.
They're gonna get Lamar after. Well, that would be the time to do it because then you're not giving up pick 8.
Yeah, because then you're giving up your 24.
But if that's the case, then the Ravens are probably going to say, well, no, we'd rather just sign Lamar.
Right.
Lamar's not playing for less than.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Agreed.
Listen, I agree.
No, he was never gonna play for less than Danny Dimes. It was just guaranteed money we're talking about.
Yeah, if the Ravens decide that they're willing to just trade outside of this tag scenario, then I agree that the Falcons could go in there and land him. But I'm just not sure they actually want to do that. All right, so yeah, the Colts cut Matt Ryan. I'm curious as to, I saw Matt Ryan get traded in one of my dynasty leagues the other day. Someone traded like 311 and some random thing. I was gonna say Jonnu Smith, but it wasn't Jonnu Smith. And now that he just got traded, like, that might not be the best example, but like, Imagine Jonnu Smith pre-trade. It was like a Jonnu Smith at 311 for Matt Ryan.
For Matt Ryan. Why?
And he thought that he thinks Matt Ryan's going to be a starter this year. So
where?
that's what
I guess like
I was
Tampa Bay. Like
Tampa
where
Bay,
could Matt
maybe
Ryan be a starter? There's not many places Matt Ryan could start. That's
is Ryan going to be a starter? Because at the end of the day,
No.
if you pay $311 for a starting quarterback, that's a decent deal.
He's not a starting quarterback.
Okay, well there it is. I don't think he's. I don't think he's either. Mike White to Miami.
It's a good backup kind of.
nice backup.
Yeah, this ain't moving the needle for me all that much.
No, I've never been a Mike White guy. I'm still not.
At the end of the day, I think I'd rather just draft some random dude in the draft than pay Mike White.
They did pay him a good amount of money. They paid him $16 million over 2 years, right? The $8 a year. They gave him a decent contract.
Yeah, this is probably just Skylar Thompson shell shock. They were like, we went into a playoff game with Skylar Thompson. Let's never do that again.
Is Mike White better than Skylar Thompson?
Yeah, see, there's my issue.
Well, Skylar Thompson's not very good.
Listen, Mike White had some good games last year, but I don't know. Fucking give me Matt Ryan. Give me Matt Ryan.
It doesn't move the needle. It's whatever. Lastly, Jameis back to the Saints. I guess he's backing up.
This was a scenario where the Saints couldn't really cut him. It kind of just made sense if they.
I thought he re-signed. I thought he was a free agent.
I'm pretty sure. I don't think was he an unrestricted free agent. I remember reading something on Twitter. There was something weird going on where it just kind of made sense if he signed an extension or did some sort of restructure, and it kind of works out for both teams where he backs him up and he gets paid.
So he signed a 1 year, $8 million deal.
So he was an unrestricted free agent. He went back.
That's what it looks like.
Okay, well that's fucking weird.
I don't know where else he's going. Who else is picking him up? So between Ritter, Howell, Corral, Wilson, Trask, and no one starting next season, I don't think so. Because I mean, you still have Baker Mayfield.
Oh no, Frank, you're right. Frank, you're right. If they cut him, they would have had $11 million in dead cap. So they had to rework it out.
Yeah, it was just kind of like a win-win for both because now Jameis gets money. He gets more money than he would have gotten.
He got $8 million out of his 11 out of his 12, and they don't get any dead cap if they cut him moving forward. So yeah.
I don't know. I'm not even sure it's necessarily between Ritter, Howell, Corral, Willis, and Trask, no one's starting next season. I'm not sure that's the case. I think the problem is, do I believe in any of these guys long term? And am I willing to spend anything and or forego trading them for anything? And the answer to both of those is no.
Well, who is starting in Washington?
Okay, listen. After Ron Rivera just came out and was publicly Sam Howell's not starting, I don't think I'm putting my money on Sam Howell.
That's a good point.
But who is starting? It was a genuine question. Who is starting in Washington?
Matt Ryan?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. Is it going to be Matt Ryan?
They don't have anyone, right?
The ghost of
they
Carson
had Sam
Wentz?
Howell.
I don't know.
I guess I don't know.
And they don't have a pick high enough to get one of these quarterbacks, unless they're going to take Hendon Hooker.
I mean, maybe they make a move and end up with someone that falls.
If I was them, they're the team that should have at least tried to get I don't know, Jameis maybe.
Yeah, I think you have to remember that team is a shit show right now.
Yeah, I mean, no one wants to play for them at all. They're a disaster.
It is a clown fiesta right now. I think the only reason they can win games is because Ron Rivera there is just taping everything together.
Darren Payne's pretty good.
I mean, yeah, they got some good players. Don't get me wrong.
Chase Young, not bad.
But when the top is in shambles, the bottom they can only bail so fast before the boat sinks enough, and then now you can't compete with the other ones.
Yeah.
All right, let's get on to the running backs, though. So, Rashaad Penny, Boston Scott back to Philly. I honestly thought Boston Scott was not going to re-sign here, and they would have replaced him with someone in the draft. I guess they really like what they saw in the playoffs. So, Rashaad Penny, we were talking about in our group chat, I think it's a perfect landing spot for him.
Yep.
It is a perfect landing spot, but the man is made of glass, okay? You can't play football when you get hurt every 3 seconds. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in it. And I hate this about myself.
He's been in the league for like 6 years, Frank.
Yes, and I hated him for 5 of them. I hated him up until last year. I was like, Rashaad Penny is everyone's worst nightmare. But now he's good. He's good. When he plays, he's good. He used to be bad. Now he's good.
Yeah, but he's still never on the field, so nothing's changed.
Yeah, but what if he is? What if he is? Like, he's an RB1. He's not
sure, no. When healthy, he will be a RB1. I'm not denying that fact. I just think it'll be for like 3 games.
Like, I just feel like, okay, what does one season of Miles Sanders last year cost? A mid-second?
Probably more.
I can get Rashaad Penny for less than that.
Sure. And you could have him because he's not going to play.
And if I cover my eyes and look no further than that, then it's a good move. Like, sometimes that's all you got to do.
He's never played more. Okay, so last year he played 5 games. The year before he actually played 10. I'm shocked. He played 10. The year before that he played 3. And then the year before that he played 10. He's never you're not getting more than about 7 games from Rashaad Penny. I will bet on it right now.
Who's that one Bengals running back that was like, I think it was the Bengals. He was like banged up for so long. Maybe he then went to the Bengals. He's another high pick. That's who I feel like Rashaad Penny is.
Are you talking about like Cedric Benson?
Yeah, I think it might be Cedric Benson. A dude that
Cedric Benson got like in a lot of legal trouble. And
yeah, just like, listen, it never worked out. And then it finally fucking clicked. I think for Rashaad Penny, last year, 2 years ago, the last 4 games of the season, he said it himself, it clicked. He finally was able to play in the NFL. He was finally up to speed with the NFL. He was finally confident, this, that, and the other. I think last year was just really unfortunate with the injuries. Yeah, the years prior was unfortunate as well, but I don't think he was actually good then. So, I don't really think the injuries fucking mattered. Now it's like, I actually think, and I think JT will agree with me, if he's on the field, he is arguably the best running back in your running back room. It's like the Kareem Hunt problem. It's like, you never want Kareem Hunt in your team because if he's just fucking there and he's too good that he has to play.
Listen, I agree with you. If he's healthy, he's going to have to play on your team. I'm not saying that. I just don't think he's worth whatever you're going to be able to get for him now, because you're going to be able to get that mid-second for him now because he's on the Eagles and people have seen what this offense does with Jalen Hurts. And if that's the case, I don't want any part of this man because there is a potential he plays 10 snaps. Like,
if he's
that's
a mid-second, that's too expensive. I'll give you that. I don't think he's a mid-second, though. I think he's a late second at most.
Last episode, I offered like 207 for Rashaad Penny and Damian Harris, and that has not had a response. On Keeper Cut, he's allegedly 305.
You're also getting a whole ass Damian Harris on that.
Yeah.
Well, you also won't get.
Well, I offered something different actually. Hold on, let me get the official trade that I offered because there's more.
Yeah, I mean, listen. At the end of the day, you're right, Frank. If he's healthy, he is a top. He's probably a fringe RB1 this year. But I just will never bank on Rashaad Penny's health. He's been in the league for 5 years. He's never played a full season. He in 2 of those played 5 or under. Like, there's just no way I'm betting on him to have a full season at all.
Right. Yeah,
I think he's
fair.
I think he's a very nice, like, if you're a contender and you just have some extra picks to throw around, sure. Like, I'll throw a late second and just whatever games he plays for me is a plus, sure. But if I'm a guy that's middle of the pack in your league, You sell him right now because this is the highest his price will ever be because everyone's saying he's going to have a great season on the Eagles. And I think he will. And even if he does, good for him. This is the same Rashaad Penny that we've seen be bad and then injured repeatedly. And then he finally figured it out and he got injured again. So I'm just not going to bet on that guy. If anyone I'm betting on in this running back room, it's Kenneth Gainwell. I just think they showed they wanted to go to him in the Super Bowl. They went to him in the Super Bowl. I think now heading into his third season, they're ready to hand him the ropes. And that's why they didn't go out and sign a more accomplished back than Rashaad Penny, because they had the cap to, and they could have just re-signed Miles Sanders. But instead they went out and re-signed Penny for not a lot. And then they brought back Boston Scott. So I think they brought back a worse version of Miles Sanders and then Boston Scott. So, like, if anyone is a plus here for me, it's Kenneth Gainwell, and I'm going to stick to it. That's just the facts on this one for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Kenneth Gainwell showed that he could play at the end of last year, and I'm just not sure now is the time I'm investing in Gainwell. I think
no, Tim, now is not that it's too late if you want. You've missed the train on that one if you wanted to get in on Gainwell, but like that's who I really think is the Eagles running back next year is Kenneth Gainwell.
You know, Boston Scott's still sticking around. I think he's at least worth a roster spot.
Yeah, Boston Scott's worth the roster spot.
First 2 games against the Giants.
Oh God, I will. It's a lock. Boston Scott to score against the Giants is a lock every single time.
Have CMC, Saquon, and Dalvin ever played a full season in which they were all healthy? I mean, were any of them injured last year?
They all played a full season last year. Dalvin didn't, but it's a difference between playing 15 games a year and playing 3. It's a big difference.
The thing I like about Penny is that I think he's an insanely high upside player, and like we're talking about Darren Waller, right? We're willing to pay significantly more for Darren Waller. That's fair. I think Darren Waller probably has more upside, and there's a better chance of him hitting than Rashaad Penny. But I'm paying significantly less than I have to pay for Waller. Like you're saying, oh, you probably have to give up 207 for Penny. I honestly think that there are leagues where I can give up 301 on draft day
and get you Penny.
And get Penny.
JT, I don't think that's adjusted to him signing with the Eagles.
I still think a third would get you Penny. I don't think there's anyone really, other than Frank and I don't think there's people really hard pounding the table for Rashaad Penny. It's just kind of just
No, I think it's more the landing spot. I think people are going, it's the Eagles, it's the Eagles, it's the Eagles. He's going to be good. He's going to be good. Like,
you think so?
Sure.
Yeah, I just think there's just as many people like you saying, we've fallen for this so many times that it's like almost like Allen Robinson a couple years ago. Everyone's like, well, he's been quarterback proof for the past 5 seasons. Obviously, he's going to do it again for the 6th season. And then, like, something has to give. That's how I feel like people are viewing Penny. It's like, okay, well, he got injured every other year. He's just going to get injured again. I'm not getting fooled. I don't care about the landing spot. Because Seattle was in theory, a good spot last year as well. Even when they fucking brought in Walker, it didn't really kill his value.
No, not until he got hurt, and then Kenneth Walker took over.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on, though. So Dolphins' backfield is going to stay the same. That's surprising. I don't think I'm going to rule out this team drafting a running back because it's the Dolphins. Like, I just feel like they're the team like the Niners would when they drafted that dude from LSU last year in the 3rd, just out of the fucking blue.
Perrine Davis-Price.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the Dolphins do one of those. But yeah, this is going to be basically
surprised because the Dolphins were rumored to be linked to Dalvin, and I guess that means they're just running it back with what they had. But I'm confused a little bit by this. I don't hate it. I think it's fine. I think they're going to be productive, both of them. I think Jeff Wilson and Mostert will have their games, but just a little weird team-wise for me.
Yeah, I don't know if they're done yet. Because this does seem, I mean, they just went out and got Jalen Ramsey. This does seem like a team that's also pushing their chips in here and looking to make that real push. So
which one are you picking right now? If you had to pick between Wilson and Mostert? Because it was interesting. I think it started off Wilson. Kind of in the hand of Mostert, then it went to Wilson, and then at the end of the season started going back to Mostert.
Jeff Wilson's just more consistent and less injury prone. That's it. I think Mostert has a higher ceiling, sure. But he's another guy that plays 5 games. So, sure, I'm going to go Jeff Wilson.
Yeah, I hate to agree, but I think I do.
I'll take Mostert.
I don't know why I hate to agree. It's really just a
Samaje Perrine to the Broncos. That's a weird one. I
this
think
seems like the Devontae. This is the Devontae. We're not sure if he's going to be fully healthy. We're just going to pick this guy up, and like if Devontae's not fully healthy yet, we're going to roll with him for a little bit. The Bengals made it work in the games that Joe Mixon was hurt, so it's fine.
I thought that he was going to stay in Cincinnati some way, somehow. So now with that happening and Joe Mixon having a really rough script this offseason, like, I mean, are the Bengals a team? Are they potentially the team that goes and if Bijan's sitting there at their pick? Because I feel like everyone right now is like not going to draft Bijan. Right, like that just to me seems what like every single team is like, no, yeah, we don't want to pay running backs. Oh yeah, no, we don't want to draft him in the first. So like everyone says that someone's going to.
I wouldn't be shocked to see the Chargers trade Ekeler and then draft Bijan.
Because I feel like the Bengals they're gonna pick up a running back. They have to. There's no way they can.
Yeah, but it's just what I think they're gonna go more along the Kareem Hunt route, right? They're gonna go with a veteran guy.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm just surprised that they didn't go out. And I mean, maybe they were involved in like a Rashaad Penny scenario. I think Rashaad Penny would have made sense for them. Like.
Yeah,
I think maybe
in Cincinnati,
maybe he's not good enough in
sense.
the passing game. I guess that might be the problem. I think Sharp's going to be really good, solid 14, 15 points in year 2. Charbonnet's already Dolphin. It's locked in already. Dude, I don't know. Like, you signed 2 backs back, and now you're going to spend – because I think Charbonnet is going in the top 2 rounds. Like, I like I said before, I wouldn't be shocked if the Dolphins did it. I'm just not going to do that after signing those running backs back. Like, but yeah, I don't know. It's the draft. It's a fucking shit show. If they really like him, they'll pick him. See, I think right now the Bengals are a very attractive landing spot for a running back, and I'm curious to see who goes there. And whoever does, their value is probably going to go pretty high. Austin Ekeler given permission to seek trade. We kind of just heard from Jake. He thinks Eckler's going to be traded. JT, what do you think about the Ekeler scenario? Would you be trying to sell him in Dynasty right now?
Yeah, because I don't think you're getting a better situation than the Chargers. I just don't see that happening. I don't know where he would end up other than like the Bills per se, but even the Bills, I don't know if that's actually truly a better situation. I guess the Charger, he's not going to get traded within the division. Now that I'm saying that out loud, I just think basically anywhere else he ends up, it's probably going to be a worse situation. He'll probably get the nice contract or whatever, but I don't think he's going to give you the same amount of points, especially considering what we saw him do last year. But just in general, you're not going to see the same usage of Austin Ekeler that we have. So with that, yeah, I'd be trying to move off Austin Ekeler. I do think he does get traded though, because typically when you see these kind of reports, the player does end up getting traded. It's just a matter of time. I know running back trades are kind of rare. Like you only see 1 or 2 a year, and they're typically lower rated guys, lower valued guys than Austin Ekeler. But I think he's gone. And at that point, I'm going to take whatever I can from Austin Ekeler.
What else do the Dolphins need? Running back, their biggest hole. I don't know. To me, when I watch the Dolphins fans might disagree with me. I feel like they need better pass rushers. I just don't think that their D-line is as good as basically any of the legit teams. And you look at their D-lines, they're all nasty.
Absolutely.
So, like, I wouldn't be surprised if they start just trying to stack rushers.
Because the Dolphins have the secondary, obviously, with Xavier Howard and Javon Holland.
Or they just brought in Jalen Ramsey, right?
Yeah, and Jalen. Yep. So, like, their secondary is locked up nice. Their offense, obviously, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. They need a tight end. I wouldn't be shocked to see them grab a tight end in the draft, one of these high-value tight ends.
Fucking Skull said that. Yeah, tight end maybe.
But other than that, I mean, the Dolphins are pretty good. I mean,
I'm trying to bring up a trade. I saw Ekeler in one of my leagues got traded for 107.
Oh, I do that. Smash. For
which side? The 107 side?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're telling me I can consistently get Quinn Johnston at 107, I'm doing that.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I have to agree, but at the same time, dude, like he was the RB1. There's a little part of me being like, if I had him, I would.
JT's right though. JT's right. If he goes anywhere else, he will not be the RB1.
Yeah.
I guarantee it. It doesn't matter. Even if he's running back 12 or whatever, he's gonna be 29 next year. Like you're talking about.
All right, fine. I agree. I'll trade him for 107.
Wait, keep yelling at him, Jake. Just put the pressure on.
Which is funny because I feel like when I saw that trade, I was like, oh yeah, that's a good trade. Because the guy offered me the same thing for whatever pick I had, either 106 or 108. And I declined. But I feel like that's partly because I just don't like Ekeler as much as everyone else does. All right, so then Dalvin Cook on the block. I don't think Dalvin gets moved.
I don't either. I don't.
That one I feel much less confident about.
I
just don't think anyone's going to take his contract.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is that Ekeler? It's like he wants a contract, so like I think there might be a team that's just willing to offer him a contract. Whereas Dalvin, they're trying to ship off the contract to someone else,
right.
And
yeah,
teams are smart. They know that having a running back getting paid like $20 million is usually not the formula for having a winning
how
team.
much Dalvin? I don't think Dalvin got that much, did he?
Okay, yeah, that was an exaggeration, but he's close to the 20 million than 2.
Yeah.
This guy just loves him. I'm not convinced Chat isn't related to Christian Watson for some reason, because somehow all roads lead back to Christian Watson.
Dalvin Cook's cap hit this season is 14 mil. Next year's 15 mil with only 3 mil in dead cap if you want to cut him. And the year after that, it's 13.5, no dead cap. It's not that bad.
All right, let's wrap up the free agency. So Allen Lazard to the Jets. I think this sucks.
Rodgers.
Yeah, it's just Rodgers, but I think it sucks because I think it kills Lazard a little bit because Lazard's just going to be Lazard. He's going to be if you have him as your wide receiver 2, you're going to cry. If you have him as a flex player, he's fine. He's actually a decent flex. But this, to me, kills Elijah Moore. This kills whatever tight end production is going to be around on the Jets. It's just going to be an offense where Garrett Wilson gets fed because he's clearly better than everyone. And I think that Corey Davis sticks around. So I think that it's just one of those scenarios where there's too many people cannibalizing each other.
I think Corey Davis gets the boot, but still.
I don't understand paying the bag for Lazard and then getting rid of Corey Davis. I don't give a shit what Rodgers wants. I can get Rodgers. I know I can get Rodgers without paying Allen Lazard $11 million per. All right.
I mean, Corey Davis's cap hits a little over 11 mil, like with no dead cap, basically under $1 million in dead cap. If you cut him, you're going to do that after signing a guy for 11 million to play the same position.
Listen, I'll do the other ones. I'll do the Cobb. I'll do the Mercedes Lewis. I'll do those ones. Save all the cash and be like, listen, we're not getting Lazard. We'll give you Odell instead. He's not complaining.
Odell might go for more, but yeah.
And I'm willing to pay more. It's Odell.
Well, we all know what Odell's knee and everything. I know he had like a highlight workout video kind of thing, but I want to see Odell's knee actually in action.
That is true.
Because I don't know how bad that thing was injured.
But and then Jakobi Meyers to Vegas. We kind of touched on Jakobi Meyers already, but this is definitely a weird move. It was definitely way more weird before the Waller deal. With the Waller deal, it's like, okay, well, now they kind of just take what Waller was and now replace it with Meyers, and now you still have your 3 receiver sets. You still have Jacobs. Like, the Raiders are once again going to be this crapshoot of an around above 500, probably slightly below 500 type of team. That they can beat anyone and they lose to everyone.
Yep.
that is the Raiders. They're just in the toughest division too. So it's
playing the Chiefs, Chargers, and Broncos twice is rough.
Garrett Wilson and maybe Brees will get every target. Not touching any other pass catcher on that team.
I just don't know what we talked about at the start of the episode, basically, but I don't know what they do with Elijah Moore. Frank says keep him. I'm not against
I don't know. I feel like they're either gonna cut Corey Davis or trade Elijah Moore, and I don't know which one it is.
I think that solely depends on what the price tag you're getting for Elijah Moore is. Because
we also don't know what they're giving up Aaron Rodgers for. Maybe they just try and replenish whatever they gave up for Aaron Rodgers with.
I mean, maybe Elijah Moore's in that trade, right? Like that could be the case.
Interesting.
Or Corey Davis, right? Like it wouldn't be crazy if, with the free agent market the way it is, that Corey Davis is in the trade. Because it feels like this is just going to be one of the wackiest trades you're going to look at. Like there's just going to be shit flying left, right, and center. Corey Davis's history with the floor. Yeah, dude, it's written in stone.
LaFleur.
Okay, so I kind of wanted to touch on trades. I actually feel like I'd rather touch on third round picks. But which way do you guys want to go?
You could do third round picks.
Let's do the thirds.
Yeah, I guess long story short, I don't know what to do with my thirds because the late thirds I think are pretty easy to play, and in my opinion the way to play it is most of the time just keeping them, because those late thirds you can use to trade for your flyer player of choice, right? If you're Skull Dynasty, you can add another depth running back to your army. But yeah, you can use those players to, or you can use them to kind of like supplement fab, right? Like if you want your Rashid Shaheed, but you're a week and a half too late, you can use that late third to pick him up. Pretty easy. I usually just
late thirds, I think, are solely trade bait to me, right? Late thirds, I sprinkle them in here and there to throw someone over the edge and make them do a trade that I want them to do, and it gives them a little cherry on top that they can go, oh, I got a third too, whatever, like fine. Then I'm talking by late thirds, I'm saying anything pretty much after about 306. Anything before 306, including 306, you can get some players, you can get some flyers that I actually like. And I'm just looking at our home league, actually, our draft from last year, and looking at the guys that went in that early third round, and you have guys like Brian Robinson, Rashaad White, Tyler Algier, Tyquan Thornton, Romeo Doubs, right? So you're talking about some guys that have some actual value and actually increased from that third round pick. They're all worth at least a second right now. So with that being said, I think those early thirds do hold more value than people give them credit for, and I think you can use them to straight up stunk, right? If you took Romeo Doubs and in the middle of the third round and then mid-season traded him for a second, you're like, I just turned a third into a second like that. And that's perfect. That's exactly what I try to do here, because oftentimes these guys show a spark and then fizzle out. Most times. There's obviously outliers to that, and like, so you could probably do the same thing right now with the likes of Rashaad White and Tyler Algier, where you drafted them in the third round. They had a decent rookie season. They're now valued pretty highly. You can trade them for a mid-second, and you just gained a round out of nowhere.
Right, and that's going back to that and more towards the early to mid-thirds. I'm really struggling to try and find trades with these third-round picks that I've collected, simply because of the fact that if you go back and you look, simply with the lens of how many of these third-round picks, the ADP of these third-round picks, have you had an opportunity to sell for at least a second? And it like around 50 to 60%, if not more, of the draft picks, right? Like even someone like who's the dude in the Panthers, the second running back, not Donta Foreman,
Chuba Hubbard.
Chuba Hubbard was a guy, if you remember, when CMC got hurt and he was playing, you could have sold it for a second. That's the type of player, like, and then now, yeah, you look with the other running backs right now, and there's just plenty of fucking players. There's so many of these guys that you've been able to, you could have just taken the top guy on the board, and there was a pretty darn good chance that if you could have just sold him for a second. And I think that that's a strategy that just helps win leagues and really over time creates value, because these second round picks you can easily turn into players that score points. I can easily trade my second for a Brandon Cooks, who has a pretty darn good fucking chance of being a top 30 receiver next year, right? Of being someone that can contribute. So I'm just curious, because like that's been my view. I'm just trying to make moves, man. I'm trying to use these thirds in not just either a pick swap where I'm upgrading a third to a second, or just holding them for players.
I mean, like that's I think the ideal case is, right, you can do that with the early thirds, right? That's what I'm talking about. That 301 to 306 range of picks, roughly. You can get a guy that's going to like increase their value, sell off for a second, and then turn that second then into a better player. That I think is very doable. But the problem I have is those back end thirds that once the draft order comes out and the season ends and everyone goes, oh, that's 310. Nobody wants that pick.
Yeah.
Right? That pick becomes worthless, essentially. And that's when you get into the, okay, well, I want to move up and make this pick worth something. And you start doing pick swaps and this and that, sprinkle it into a bigger trade to just, try to entice them a little bit. But I just, that's where I don't think you really gain value. It's more of just making moves to make moves. But at the same time, the players you're picking in the back end of the third are such a dart throw here that you're just like, sure, why not? I'll throw it in for no added cost.
I don't like viewing the 311s like that, though, because, I mean, and this is why I never trade these things, and I'm always hoarding them, because I honestly think that the third round picks are the most undervalued assets in the league. And like,
I agree with the first half of them, but
I agree. Like 311, the hit rate is not good, but I have hit on 311s, and I call it the Komet pick because it's the classic. There's that one dude left who has day two, like second round draft capital that just no one else wants, and for obvious reasons. A lot of the time, it's like, oh well, it's who was that Seahawks dude that popped off at the Senior Bowl a couple years ago? D. Eskridge, right?
Oh yeah,
it's D. Eskridge, right? It's like you can make a laundry list of reasons why D. Eskridge, Van Jefferson, right? Like there's so many reasons why this guy isn't going to succeed, right? He was not supposed to be the second round pick. But I scooped
Tyquan Thornton
at 311s. And I think that, like, yeah, it's not 100% hit rate, but I was able to sell Komet for a second. I was able to sell Van Jefferson in some leagues for a second. Couldn't sell D. Eskridge. He's cooked.
I was going to say, was D. Eskridge ever
increased in value? But listen, it's one of the misses.
Rip. I took the D. Eskridge bait, no lies.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. I forgot. I forgot that happened.
I took the D. Eskridge bait. No lies here.
I struggle to trade these picks. Like I feel like I just want them. I want them. Unless I'm upgrading the pick in a pick swap, I want them.
I'd probably be the guy to sell them. I'm on the sell side.
Yeah, the late thirds here, man. I just throw them in like fucking candy half the time. It's just like, sure, you want an extra third, it's 310, go for it. Like it's worth nothing to me almost. It's gonna turn into a guy that's either gonna clog my taxi or clog my roster. That's all it's gonna be.
I'm not interested in any running backs that fall past the second. You're brave. I think part of it is that I usually watch a lot of the running backs. Like I usually try to and I chart them. So like I kind of just get inherent biases from charting them. The guys that chart well, I like, and the guys that don't chart well, I don't like. So, like if I see a guy that I really like from the charting and he gets third round draft capital and I could pick him up in the third round of my rookie draft, like Brian Robinson last year, I scooped up shit tons of Brian Robinsons. I was joining startups before the draft just to get Brian Robinsons for cheap. And like 2 years ago, I did the same thing with that Bears dude, the backup for the, I guess he's the starter. Khalil Herbert. I was joining startups just to draft Khalil Herberts. So yeah, and for the record, it's basically guys that break tackles. Is generally what I like.
No.
Is there some March Madness stuff going on?
Yeah, March Madness. It's a play-in game. We got Southeast Missouri State versus Texas A&M Corpus Christi.
Wait, so the actual bracket hasn't started yet?
No, it's a play-in game. Yeah, it's a play-in game. But
okay.
it was who was it? Southeast Missouri State was down 3 with 10 seconds left, and the guy missed the 3 to tie the game.
I think they should do like a whole tournament for the play-in games, to be honest with you. But
I mean, that's
all the mid-majors.
Yeah, I think you should just throw in like, okay, you get like, how many teams are in? There's like 4 play-in games.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, let's add another round or 2 onto that. Like,
then Rutgers people would be a lot less upset.
Yeah, Rutgers people won't be going crazy.
Clemson people would be better off too.
I mean, I guess like while we're on the topic of third round picks, though, we could talk about 4ths and 5ths as well. We could just group it in here. I mean, I assume that you guys hate the 4ths and 5ths if you didn't like the late thirds.
Listen, I'm honestly more inclined to just grab the 4ths and 5ths because people just literally don't care, right? So like you can actually maybe get something for a late third. Like you can find a 310 for, I don't know, like who's valued at 310 right now? Probably Adam Thielen. Like you can get someone like that for 310, and he's going to put up points this year. I know he's not on the Vikings, but you can get someone for a 310. But like for anything less, you're just like, you're not getting anything. And if someone's willing to just throw in a bunch of them for free, because I know you've done this even, whereas you're just like, give me all your 4ths and 5ths too. And people are like, okay.
It really depends on the person.
Yeah, people just don't care. So if you can get those, and then you can, if you're a guy like yourself or anyone, all of us on the pod, where you actually watch a lot of film and a lot of college football, and you're like, that guy's actually good, and he's in the 4th and 5th rounds, sure, you can pick up some gems. Like I think we saw like a James Robinson you drafted there in the 4th round one year, and like then you traded him immediately for like a third.
I don't want to talk about it.
But anyways, but like you can find guys that slip through the cracks, and I'm more inclined to do that than the late thirds that you can actually maybe get a contributor to a team for.
Yeah, I like the 4ths and the 5ths. I really do. I mean, the hit rate is astronomically low. Don't get me wrong, but I usually get a collection of players that I like, and if you have enough of them, you can draft all of them.
And I got them when you have no roster spots.
Now you're in the spot right now where you don't have enough space for these guys.
I'm honestly thinking about just going over the cap until right before the season starts, and just staying over the cap.
You should.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with that, I guess.
I was also thinking, okay, listen to this. This is crazy. So in our home league, I have so many 4ths and 5ths. I have so many. I think I have I have at least like 6 in each round, right? I have too many. At least 5 or 6. I was thinking about doing a strategy that I call the general store strategy, where if anyone gives me a future another 4th and 5th, I will automatically accept it for any of the 4th round picks that I have. And set another price like, okay, if you give me 2 5ths, I'll accept it for any of the 5ths I have in this draft. And see if I could stack value that way.
So, wait.
I don't think it stacks much value is the issue.
I double my 4ths and 5ths.
So you trade a 4th this year for a 4th and 5th next year? Is that what?
In any year, it doesn't matter. I don't discriminate on the years. I mean, partly I
wouldn't double your 4ths. You just accumulate a bunch of 5ths.
Well, I mean, yeah, I get another 4th and I get a 5th. Listen,
you get 1 4th.
I agree with you. 4ths and 5ths suck, but the beauty of it is that 4ths and 5ths don't really differentiate much. Like, is there really a big difference between pick 43 and 47? It's like,
yeah, but like if you compiled them all together and you got 100 4th round picks and you tried trading that for, I don't know, I'm pulling up a player here, Rondale Moore, that's probably not happening. Try trading 100 4th round picks for Rondale Moore. I don't know if you're getting run over.
Yeah, I don't want to trade them though. But if I draft 100 fourth rounders, what are the odds I find a James
But where
Robinson?
do you have the room? But do you have the room to store all these?
Well, here's the thing. Here's the other thing too. I wasn't even thinking about. I was thinking about throwing a week or two and then seeing what happens. See if any of them come out of the woodworks, and then come like week 2 or 3 of the season. Going because, dude, this is going to be a hot take. This is going to be a hot take that everyone's going to disagree with, and it's because it sounds stupid.
You would get so much backlash from your league if you just didn't cut down to the roster by the opening day, and just threw
in certain
2 weeks to see if any of those 4th and 5ths. You would have so much backlash. I think
the beginning weeks of the season, like the first week, does not matter. I mean, listen, it matters if you become a fringe playoff team. I'm not saying the win doesn't matter, but the players that you are starting week 1 are wildly different to the players that win you championships. And at the end of the day, would I rather cut James Robinson or not have James Robinson and whatever? I don't do my general store, which gives me 100 4ths and 5ths, which then I can eventually draft 100 of them and then hold them all until week 2. I'd rather do that.
But how do you move off? It gives me
a higher chance of winning me a championship than getting an extra win.
How do you move off 100 4th round picks? Who's buying these 100 4th round picks?
I draft all of them.
That's what I'm saying. You draft them all. So now you have 100 players on your roster. You're supposed to have 25, 30 players on your roster. How do you cut down 60 players? There's no one out here buying 60 players.
Well, yeah, I'd have to cut a bunch of them, but I'd hopefully cut the ones that suck.
So you still have dart throws within your dart throws.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I know that all of my 4th and 5th round picks are not going to hit. If you can hit all of your 4th and 5th round picks, you are like better than Jesus. Like you got a higher hit rate than him. Like Jesus will look there. He's like, listen, I can turn the water into wine, but turning all these 4ths into playable players, that's asking for too much. Like,
I just think it's going to be a waste of time doing that strat.
Is it though? Is it?
I also don't know how realistic it is you're going to get all those biters.
Well, every year, how many 4th round picks hit in a given year?
I don't know. Let's look at last year's draft. I don't think any.
So, when did Darnell Mooney get drafted? What draft was that? Because I know there was Gabe Davis, Darnell Mooney. Was that 2020 with James Robinson as well? 4th, 5th round kind of guy?
All right, wait. Fourth round last year, Pierre Strong missed. Velus Jones missed. Sam Howell, I'd say hit. Khalil Shakir miss. Justin Ross, I would say hit in terms of we were just able to.
Nah, he's a miss. He's a miss.
Okay. Charlie Kolar miss. Greg Dulcich hit. Snoop Connor miss. Kyle Phillips miss. Danny Gray miss. Isaiah Pacheco hit. Daniel Bellinger, I would say hit. So 1, 2, 3.
Let's go into the 5th.
4 hits.
The 5th.
Cade Otton.
I mean,
not ready to say. Neutral.
All right, this one, Mark Ingram got drafted, so not going to count that. Calvin Austin.
Miss.
Abram Smith. I think he's tearing up the XFL, isn't he?
So he's going to be a hit, is what you're saying.
Jeremy Ruckert.
Miss.
Kenny Brooks. Miss. Brock Purdy.
That's a hit.
I guess.
Jerome Ford. Miss.
Well, he would probably have been cut after the initial round, though.
Yeah, see?
The initial round of cuts.
Okonkwo, hit. Samori Torre, miss. Ty Chandler, miss. Jake Ferguson, miss.
Honestly, this 2020 draft was pretty loaded in the 4th and 5th.
That draft was loaded in the 4th and 5th.
So, just going through our 2020 4th and 5th, DJ Dallas missed. KJ Hamler, I don't know what you want to call that, but it's not a miss.
He was really in the 4th?
402.
There were times where he could have sold him for like a 3rd, but we can count him as a miss. Like let's do it as a miss.
Cole Kmet, 403. Lynn Bowden missed. Gabe Davis hit. Devin Asiasi missed. Quincy Cephas missed. Tyler Johnson missed. Prochet missed. Quez Watkins. I'd take Quez Watkins. Albert O. I don't know what you want to call
That's
Albert
a hit. He had that one off season where you could have sold him.
You could trade him for a second.
Then you move into the 5th round. You got John Hightower, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Darnell Mooney, Isaiah Hodgins, and James Robinson in the 5th that year.
Dude, this is more than you expect. I mean, now
it's
the
more than
problem
I
is
thought.
that so I drafted Isaiah Hodgins in no shit like every league basically, but the problem is it took him 3 years to come out. My taxis only last 2 years. I can't keep this dude out. I can't keep him around for 3 years. Like, so like that's the only problem is that a lot of these future breakouts you don't really hold on to a lot of the time, especially if you're stacking like tons of these things.
Yeah.
Unless you're able to move him before, because I guess like Pacheco, could you have moved him before? He was getting hyped before in training camp, right?
In the training camp, yeah.
So like if you were
obviously
just willing
not for what
to
he's worth
settle
now.
for a little bit less than what the going rate is, right? Because like Pacheco, you could have sold for a third. It was like, oh, maybe he's a second, right? I'm pretty sure that was the game. It's like people were only really getting deals done for random/late seconds, but there was a healthy amount of people saying, no, I'm not giving the second for him. If I remember correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So, like, yeah, if you just say, like, okay, I'll sell him for a third. Fuck it. Like, you can get deals like that done.
So when you trade your thirds for a third next year and a fourth?
Well, the thing is that thirds have actual value. Like, when I offer, like, a player and a third for a second, that's a very attractive deal. And I think for good measure, right? Like, I mean, we just went through a list of fourths and fifths. I mean, thirds you think are better than that. So, like, you can with somewhat of consistency hit on thirds. It's not, okay, I drafted 4 fourths and they all fucking suck. You have 4 thirds. Like, usually one of them pans out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but then you look at, like, the 2021 fourths and fifths and you're like, wow. Wow, that was bad.
Yeah, I think Khalil Herbert's the only one that hit the whole 2 rounds.
Yeah, literally the entire 4th round was horrendous. And then the only
read it
one
out.
that
What is it?
Brevin Jordan, Des Fitzpatrick, Tommy Tremble, Jalen Darden, Jamar Jefferson, Trey McKitty, Javian Hawkins, Jacob Harris, Kylan Granson, Cornell Powell, Seth Williams, Amir Smith-Marset. That rounds out the 4th. Ooh. And then the 5th.
That is ugly.
It doesn't get much better in the 5th.
The 5th, we had Noah Gray, Kylan Hill. Khalil Herbert was the one hit. Sam Ellinger, Jared Dokes, Hunter Long, Larry Roundtree, Chris Evans, Daz Newsome, Shai Smith, and Sage Surratt.
So I will say about that 2021 class, I remember that running back class being horrible.
For everyone not named Najee and Javonte.
Yeah,
and
but
Travis
like for
Etienne.
the dart throwy kind of guys, it was just like dog shit.
You and I were both in on Khalil Herbert, though.
Yeah,
we were above Khalil Herbert over ADP. I remember that. We were also in on Trey Sermon, though. So it's
yeah,
you get one. You get one.
Win some, win some.
We drafted the second round guy in the 4th instead of the 2nd.
Yeah.
With leagues have waivers down after the season, 4th and 5th are solid. Other than that, rookie draft shouldn't go past the 3rd. Oh no, I like the drafts that they go in the 4th and 5th. But at the same time, I feel like I like the drafts where it's like waivers are barren. Like everyone gets a million roster spots and you can just hoard everything.
I fall in the middle. It's kind of annoying.
I think most people like it the other way around.
Yeah, I don't want to have to choose between cutting like 2 very good players, like not very good, but like 2 players that I could realistically see in my flex. But I also don't want to like look at the waivers and see no one there. Like I'm between starting, I don't know. I can't think of names off the top of my head. Whoever that random Ravens running back was that had one good week and then disappeared.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. crap, name is escaping me. Yeah, I like seeing, the highest guy on the waiver list is like Todd Gurley, who retired. And then it's like, then we have like an XFL star as number 2.
Abram Smith.
That's how I would like it.
Has anyone heard from Lounis? Is he okay?
No. He's not okay.
Right, well, let's see. Oh, we're stupid. Lounis is on vacation.
Oh,
Lounis is.
That's right.
Yeah. He's on a work trip. Now that you mention it, yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Well, I have nothing else to talk about unless you guys wanted to mention anything. Feel free.
Well, now I mentioned Lounis is on vacation. We could give out his address in case anyone wants to break in and take all his stuff. But no, I've got nothing else to add here. Thanks everyone for listening.
Watching. Yeah, if you made it this far, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. We'll be back next Tuesday with usual stuff. So thank you guys so much in chat. Really appreciate it. We love you guys coming out. So I hope you enjoyed the show. Peace out. Have a good one. We love you.